Welcome back to the Adult Volunteer Literacy Program Tutor Training. This time, we are going to discuss learning styles and goal setting for learners. This is going to be interactive and self-reflective. We were all learners once and still are learners in ways. Understanding our own learning styles and how to set goals will help us help learners who might not have as deep an understanding of how it helps. There are a bunch of sheets in your packet that talk about learning styles and different activities related to each of the learning styles. But for now, let's look at just what the learning styles are. There are three different learning styles: visual, auditory, and haptic, also known as kinesthetic, if that one sounds more familiar to you. People tend to favor one of the three over the other, but it's not exclusive. Generally, it's a mix of the three with a preference for one. You'll see this in a bit when you take the learning styles quiz yourself. Before we get ahead of ourselves though, let's look at each of the three closer. Visual learners utilize graphs, charts, maps, words, and diagrams to learn. They learn best through what they see. This can mean reading, seeing pictures, watching videos, or even seeing interactions in the world. Seeing is how visual learners learn, whether that be images, reading, seeing things in action, or any kind of visual. For auditory learners, listening and speaking are their main ways of learning. They are listening to others and listening to themselves. Audios and video clips are useful here as well. Reading aloud and holding conversations are some of the best ways for them to learn. Any way to make the material into sound. Could be song, could be reading aloud, could be simply talking, or even just listening to audiobooks. Haptic learners are generally characterized as free-spirited learners that learn through practice and movement. This includes body movement, such as hand counting, doodling, any sense of touch. Yes, even writing. Writing it out helps haptic learners as the movement of their hand across the page helps imprint the words in a physical form. Doing and movement is important for these learners. It can associate the action to the skill or even allow them to focus on what is happening at the time to learn. Now, take 10 minutes to complete the 3 learning styles checklist: visual, auditory, and haptic. The reason why we are doing this is to see how you learn, how it's different from how you thought you learn, and how it may be different from how your learner learns best. It will also help you adjust your tutoring sessions if needed. Go ahead, pause the video, and take 10 minutes to fill out these 3 sheets and hit play when you're ready. Finished? What did you get? How was it different from how you thought you learned best? I was surprised myself when I found out how much I leaned to haptic and visual with little in auditory. I am someone that learns best from writing things down, but never looks at them again, and doodling in class. My notebooks were full of flowers and penguins, and for the longest time, I didn't know it was actually helping me learn. Most of our adult learners also don't understand how they learn, and most of them are hands-on learners, leaning towards haptic. They're used to doing, so finding ways to get them moving and interacting physically with the material will make it more engaging for them. Make sure to look at your tutoring materials for some more ideas and examples of the 3 different learning styles. Understanding learning styles is not only helpful for understanding how our learners learn and how to tutor more effectively, but also to help our learners figure out paths to achievable goals. This is called proper sequencing, and it's an important part in goal setting, the section we are going to look at now. As most people know, there are 2 types of goals: short-term and long-term goals. Having your learner set both of these types of goals will be helpful in encouraging your learner and keeping both of you focused. The learner can create short-term goals for each lesson so they can see their progress, something adult learners will feel is encouraging. As adults, we like to see our results fast, and with learning, it's sometimes difficult to see actual learning taking place, especially quickly. Setting a short-term goal of today we are going to finish one worksheet, or by the end of the lesson we will have read 5 pages, is a good way to let them see a visual cue for visual learners that they achieved something. Making a list with these short-term goals and checking them off once achieved is a way to incorporate goal setting and achievement for haptic learners, as the action of making that check mark is incredibly satisfying. For auditory learners, talking about how you will achieve the short-term goal lets them make a plan they can remember. As you can see, learning styles can be incorporated and should be in every part of the process. But back to goal setting, we have another type of goal, long-term goals. These are what learners want to accomplish. Obtaining their GED, improving their literacy skills. Some of these are easier to see than others. You receive a piece of paper when you obtain your GED, but what do you get when you improve your literacy skills? More knowledge, yes, but nothing physical that can visualize your learner's achievement. This is why long-term goals can be more challenging and why sequencing is important. I had a professor once explain to me proper sequencing using a travel metaphor that works well. The long-term goal is to travel to San Francisco. Short-term goals can be a part of that long-term goal, such as figuring out how you will travel, let's say carfuless, when you will need to stop for gas, and where you will stay in between. However, short-term goals can also be goals that arise from new problems. Where is the next rest stop because you spilled your coffee? And where can you get off the highway easily to get a snack? Each of these little goals are important because there are specific steps to make it to the ultimate goal, providing a picture of reaching that long-term goal. This is sequencing. Now, you may think that calling, reaching the rest stop to clean your coffee up, and finding a snack on the drive are not short-term or small goals. But this type of thinking is incredibly helpful for our learners and actually a proven teaching technique. Neurodivergent learners sometimes need to readjust their goals because of learning disabilities or issues that arise. You may have started with the short-term lesson goal to read 5 pages, but the learner got stuck on a word and on the second page for 30 minutes, making the 5 pages unachievable. You wouldn't want to say you failed that short-term goal. That's just encouraging. So instead, you can treat tackling that word as a new short-term goal. Sure, you didn't reach the 5 pages, but you still achieved a goal. The 5 pages became the long-term goal for next time, and tackling that troublesome word became the new short-term goal. As a supportive tutor, you want to search for small successes in every step. This way, the learner can see, hear, and feel they're making progress, even if it's small progress. Progress is progress, and we want to celebrate this. A tip for this would be to start your lesson with something you know the learner does well. Start on a positive note, then end with something successfully completed. Whether that be an original short-term goal, say 5 pages read, or a new short-term goal of getting over that word and finishing the sentence. Use enthusiasm to celebrate these successes, but make sure to keep it real and authentic. Too much, and your learner might feel like you're infantilizing them. Another tip is when you get stuck, go back to the last successful step and review. Sometimes it's a simple matter of forgetting or needing to reevaluate the method before moving forward with a new plan. Next, as already mentioned, break down the steps in the goal if it's too hard, or increase the steps if the goal is too easy. Lastly, revise goals as learners. Add to the long-term goals or create more goals to get closer to the long-term goal. As a tutor, you've been a learner. You've made goals. Use your experience to help them out. Now, let's look at an example of a goal guide sheet. In the literacy program, we have what is called SMART goals. Here, we can see some examples of some general goals and some goal activities. Here, we can see our actual SMART goals approach. You can see the sheet we use in our materials here. This isn't the only way to set goals, but this is just what we use if you have never made goals before. So let's take a look at what SMART goals are. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely. Specific goals should be written simply and clearly define what they are wanting to achieve, such as what are you going to do, why you're going to do it, and how you're going to accomplish it. Goals should be measurable, such as what tangible evidence do you have that will tell you if and when you've completed your goal. An example of this is I can read one front page article of the newspaper without help. It's measurable because you can count one article and it specifies where and what, the newspaper, without help. Attainable goals should stretch you slightly so they feel like a challenge, but you also have the appropriate knowledge, materials, and resources to reach the goal. If a learner has the long-term goal of reading the Iliad but only has measured a second grade reading level, maybe trying to set short-term goals between that are attainable, that lead up to that. Realistic goals relate to your learner and where they are and where they want to go. This is closely related to attainable, but it is a good reminder. Sometimes learners want perfection, and perfection isn't possible, or going too quickly with too big of leaps. Trying to reach that goal and being unable to would be discouraging. So make sure you set realistic goals. Lastly, goals should be timely. Linking the goal to a time frame gives it a sense of urgency that will help encourage you and the learner. These are the goal sheets I use with your community learners at their orientation, and I share them with their tutors on their first meeting, so you know where to begin. But your learners will make goals with you for each lesson, so we want to make sure we can make the goals go from general to specific. We can also see some of these here. Let's work on an example together. I want to improve my reading skills. General. Now, what are some specific goals we can set that fit within improving reading skills? Take a couple minutes, pause the video, and write down some ideas. So, what did you write? Here's some of what I came up with. I want to read a chapter book to my child. I want to read the first Harry Potter book on my own. I want to read one page from the Harry Potter book on my own without help. I want to learn 5 new words. See how it gets more in depth, but also they become shorter and more easily attainable and realistic. Now it's your turn. Make SMART goals for yourself. Take 10 minutes and fill out the SMART goal sheet yourself. Try and make it a goal related to tutoring, but if you can't pick something instead you would like to do or have achieved recently. If you have any questions, please let your literacy counselor know. Hopefully, you filled out your own SMART goals. Now, don't let yourself down as practice for your learner. That's it for this video, so see you next time.